Headed your way, an update to our 11 Investigate story on a Williams County farm accused of causing harm to the water, what the EPA had to say about our investigation. And October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, what one organization is doing to help women facing the safety threat. Chris?
And if you love the sunshine and dry, mild weather, I'm going to let you know how long that's going to last into early October. My full forecast is going to be coming up. Kaylee.
Welcome into WTOL 11 News on Plus. I'm Kaylee Marentet. Thanks for joining us here tonight. We're going to take a look at the top stories that we need to tell you about. An Ohio woman is sentenced to 40 years in prison after investigators say she killed her husband with a controlled substance. According to authorities, the Wapakoneta woman pleaded guilty to multiple charges. Court documents say she wanted a divorce in 2020 after starting a relationship with another man. The woman confessed to injecting her husband with poison used to tranquilize animals and wildlife, which she allegedly got from the other man. Her mother has also been charged in connection to this crime. Well, it's likely you know a domestic violence survivor. Maybe you don't even know that they are one. Statistics from the National Institutes of Health show 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men have experienced some form of partner abuse. In Lucas County, more than 300 domestic violence calls are made per month. And while emergency services like the Cocoon and Bethany House are available 24/7, the nonprofits are noticing more survivors are looking for help, which is both positive and troubling.
What we're seeing at Bethany House locally is increased need as well. More people reaching out to us for help. And we have more people on our waiting list to get into our shelter than ever before.
Last year, the Attorney General's office found Lucas County had nearly 8,500 domestic violence reports, but only 1,900 resulted in charges. 11 Investigates can now report that almost all the violations handled out by state investigators against Schmucker Family Farms have been fixed. But something interesting happened after our report. It caught the attention of Ohio's Department of Agriculture and the Ohio EPA. Both directors of those agencies agreed to meet with our lead investigator, Brian Duggar, in Columbus. After the story aired in August, the EPA went out to multiple locations highlighted in our investigation.
On both September 10th and September 16th, our teams were out taking samples in Bear Creek and Fish Creek and several tributaries to those small creeks to find out exactly that. And so as soon as we have those results, we will make them publicly available and get them to you. So it will take several weeks to get those results, but we want to know exactly what's in the water as well.
Tonight at 11 on WTOL 11, Brian Duggar will tell you more about the meetings in Columbus and why an environmental group still doesn't believe enough is being done to protect the water. Some South Toledo residents aren't happy with the city of Toledo's renderings of what Broadway Street will look like after construction wraps up next summer. Toledo's cycling community is worried about their safety due to unprotected bike lanes. Bicyclists say there aren't any barriers between bikers and parked cars. Their concern is having the driver of a parked car open their door as a cyclist is approaching and knocking them off their bike. By now, you've likely drove past those closed down Rite Aid buildings. Point Place residents are no closer to getting a new pharmacy after it closed about 3 weeks ago. Toledo City Council members say the city is still working on bringing in another pharmacy, but no luck yet. Now to an update on the efforts to build a new material recovery facility in Lucas County. The Board of Lucas County Commissioners, City Council members, and U.S. Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur discussed the project today. They say it would improve the way Lucas County recycles by allowing the county to take in recyclable materials, then sort, process, and prepare it for shipment all in one spot. Right now, recyclables are taken 90 miles away to be sorted. WTOL 11 has learned that the project will get $5 million in federal money for the project.
I know it's just garbage and recycling, but this is really a big deal. This helps. This is something that you interface with every day. Every time you take something into your blue can, that's the start of the journey. We're at the end of the journey now.
It will be built at Coleman Drive and South Avenue near I-75 in South Toledo. Officials anticipate the new facility will process up to 35,000 tons of material annually. By now, I'm sure we've all heard about the longshoremen port strikes happening on the east and Gulf coasts in the U.S., but experts say there's no need for consumers to start stockpiling toilet paper yet. In today's Behind the Hashtag, we'll break down what trends we can expect to see at the grocery store and what other industries may be impacted by these strikes. As dock workers at major ports from Maine to Miami are striking for higher wages and more security, job security. One thing you may notice is coming in the coming weeks is bananas may be priced higher or more difficult to come by. According to CBS News, 75% of bananas are shipped through the port of Baltimore and have a shorter shelf life since they are produce. Grocery chains can't stockpile them in preparation for the strike. On the other hand, these stockpiles make it so we won't see any disruptions for many items on the shelves for 4 to 6 weeks. People online are also asking if the strikes will impact upcoming cruises or vacations that have been booked. The answer is no. The strike is only impacting containerized shipping, not cruise lines, operations, or military ships. That's according to the International Longshoremen Association. Well, if you want to see more breakdowns of viral trends and 60-second stories, check out our WTOL 11 social media pages. We have them available on YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. Microsoft will build a $420 million data center in Ohio. The 245,000 square foot data center will be built in New Albany. That's about 15 miles northeast of Columbus. The New Albany City Council passed the resolution last night to allow the tech giant to build there. Microsoft estimates the center will employ a minimum of 30 full-time employees. Construction is set to start next July and be complete around December of 2027. It was probably the last debate of the presidential election, but it wasn't between the presidential candidates. The VP nominees duked it out on the stage, and our National Verify team is here with a fact check.
The two vice presidential candidates squared off on the debate stage with just over a month to go until the November 5th election. We here at Verify, we're tracking the claims made by Republican J.D. Vance and Democrat Tim Walz to fact check which claims were true and which were false. Here are our sources. Early on, the moderators asked about climate change, pointing to the devastating hurricane that just hit the southeast. J.D. Vance focused his answer on the importance of producing energy in the United States.
You'd want to produce as much energy as possible in the United States of America because we're the cleanest economy in the entire world.
That claim is false. The U.S. does not have the cleanest economy in the world. Several agencies have measured this by calculating the amount of carbon emissions each country generates and comparing it to their economic production. By those metrics, the U.S. is cleaner than some other large economies, such as China and Canada, but dirtier than some others, like much of Western Europe. Tim Walz responded by saying Democrats have managed to pass policies addressing climate change, while also overseeing an increase in energy supply.
We are producing more natural gas and more oil at any time than we ever have.
That is true. Data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration shows crude oil production is at an all-time high, increasing every year since 2021 after a brief drop-off due to the pandemic. The data also shows that natural gas production in America has never been higher, rising every year since 2016. Turning to the economy, Vance made this claim about rising prices during the time Kamala Harris has been vice president.
She had the opportunity to enact all of these great policies, and what she's actually done instead is drive the cost of food higher by 25%, drive the cost of housing higher by about 60%.
These claims need context. From January 2021, when Biden and Harris took office, to August 2024, food prices rose roughly 22%, according to the government's Consumer Price Index. It's pretty close to what Vance claimed. But the 60% increase in housing prices appears to be an exaggeration. The CPI rent index went up about 23%, and the median sale price of a house rose 16%. Mortgage rates are 119% higher than when Biden took office, and a federal housing price index shows a 41% increase. Finally, Tim Walz made this claim when discussing the subject of abortion.
Their Project 2025 is going to have a registry of pregnancies.
This claim is false. Project 2025 wouldn't require parents to actively register pregnancies. Instead, it would require states to submit data about abortions, miscarriages, and stillbirths after they happen. Currently, some states voluntarily report some of this data to the CDC. And while Vance has connections to the authors of Project 2025, the campaign has repeatedly distanced itself from it. We have many more fact checks from this debate available at verifythis.com. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
Well, the presidential candidates also got back on the campaign trail today. Vice President Kamala Harris is headed to Georgia for a briefing about recovery efforts after Hurricane Helene and to survey the damage. Former President Donald Trump is spending his day fundraising in Texas. Both campaigns praised the performances of their VP candidates. The Ohio Department of Health says 22,000 abortions were reported in the state last year. That's a 19% increase from the year before. The ODH says a majority of abortions are happening before 9 weeks is reported. According to the report, out-of-state abortion seekers have jumped as well, making up almost 13% of the total abortions done here in the state. Sean Diddy Combs is facing another long list of sexual misconduct allegations. He's in jail and awaiting trial on charges of trafficking women for sex parties and has pleaded not guilty. Houston attorney Tony Busby says he represents 120 people who say Combs abused them as well. He spoke on Tuesday about the disturbing claims.
Our youngest victim at the time of the occurrence was 9 years old. We have an individual who was 14 years old. We have one who was 15. 25 of the 120 individuals who are plaintiffs in these cases were minors at the time of the acts complained of.
Combs' lawyer says he denies any claim that he sexually abused anyone, including minors. Chris?
Kaylee, our Thursday is going to be looking dry, mild, and a bit warmer, mid to upper 70s. Outstanding October weather is going to be unfolding, and it will continue into Friday. Nice and mild right around the mid 70s. And how about this weekend? The pumpkin patches, the corn mazes, or apple picking. Saturday could be your day to do that. Dry and a bit cooler, right around 72 degrees. Now, many areas are feeling that nice, cool, comfortable feel. Much lower humidity. We reached through the upper 60s to near 70 degrees on our Wednesday. And we've had clear skies. There is no threat of any rain from one end of the area to the other. Go ahead and put this one away. We're going to stay dry for the next several days. Let's look at that bus stop forecast. First thing on Thursday morning, 48 degrees. It'll be a clear start to the day, cool and crisp, right around 70 as we get toward outdoor recess time, mid to upper 70s into the afternoon as kids wrap up the school day. You're not going to see any rain showing up here the next 24 hours in that hour-by-hour forecast. I'm going to let this one roll through Thursday. We're going to have dry conditions all across the area, a very mild feel, mid to upper 70s. In fact, warm for early October. Then as we go Thursday night into Friday, we are going to get a cold front that approaches. Now watch what this cold front does. I'm going to pause the clock here. Friday morning, this right around 8 a.m., we're still looking at mostly sunny skies. You're just noticing some cloud cover increase. There's that front over toward Lake Michigan, up toward Chicago. Now, as that front comes toward us, it does have a few rain showers in advance of it, but those showers really just fade away. This is a cold front that doesn't have much of a punch to it, and it doesn't have much moisture to work with, so we expect mainly dry weather, if not entirely dry conditions once that front comes through. Friday, we'll switch the wind direction, keep low humidity into the area, and Friday evening into Saturday will continue to be great. So how about our big board Friday forecast? 67 at kickoff on Friday evening, 64 at 8 p.m., 61 by 9 p.m. You couldn't ask for a better evening in October. Now, another thing we're going to be looking forward to, Friday night, the potential is the northern lights may be possible. Our better chance is going to be on Friday night with the arrival, we expect as of right now, to be a strong G3 geomagnetic storm. We're currently under a geomagnetic storm watch for the potential of that as we get into Friday night. Saturday, a little cooler of the 2 weekend days, 72. We're going to skyrocket back toward 80 on Sunday. Dry and mild Saturday, warm